Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students, and a very good morning to you.
Walaikum salam.
Today, we are going to discuss deductive and inductive argument. If you remember, in the last lecture, we discussed what is an argument, and once what is an argument, and once आप लोग प्लीज अपने माइक्स जो है ना वो म्यूट कर दें क्योंकि बीच में फिर इको आती है तो So, if you guys remember, we discussed in last lecture what was an argument. So, once you understand what an argument is, then you'll be able to understand what is a deductive argument and what is an inductive argument. In deductive argument and inductive argument, these are the two kinds of argument. Logic basically is the study of argument or reasoning itself. It doesn't pick and choose any kind of argument, but it is the study of hello.
सर आवाज आ रही है
जी वो बीच में शायद disconnect हो गया था. So I was talking about what is an argument. An argument is a structured group of propositions which reflect an inference. So a structured group means it must be more than one proposition. The first step is an argument must be composed of propositions, and then the second step is there must be more than one proposition and there must be a given structure. The structure says that there must be at least one premise and one conclusion, and finally these propositions must have some kind of link which is called inference. One proposition follows the other and there must be a logical link between them in order to be considered as a valid argument. So briefly, that was the definition of argument. Now we need to understand there are two major kinds of argument: deductive argument and inductive argument. On the basis of these two kinds of argument or these two kinds of reasoning, the whole logic is divided into deduction and induction, or deductive logic and inductive logic. So once you are able to understand what is a deductive argument, obviously you will be able to know the deductive logic and deduction. And once you know what is an inductive argument, you will be in a better position to understand what is meant by induction or what is meant by inductive logic. So let's start with the deductive argument. A deductive argument is the argument in which premises support conclusion conclusively. Now, this expression needs to be understood because it is the key to understand the whole division between deductive and inductive argument. Deductive arguments are those arguments in which premises support conclusion conclusively. Now, what does it mean? Basically, it means any kind of argument, in order to be valid, there must be inference, obviously. So inference means that the premises should support conclusion. But the term conclusively here, that is the key. That means if the premises are true, the conclusion must be 100% true. Conclusively means if we, for example, if I say all students are intelligent and then I say Mr. X is a student. Now, if we consider these two propositions to be true, if we presume that all propositions or all students are intelligent, if we presume it to be true, and then if we consider Mr. X is a student, this statement or proposition to be true, the conclusion which says, therefore, Mr. X is intelligent. This conclusion would be 100% true if the both of the premises were true. If we presume that all students are intelligent, this statement is true, and then we presume that Mr. X is a student, this statement is also true. Logically follows the conclusion which says Mr. X is intelligent, that would be 100% true if both of the premises are true. So that is what it means to be conclusive. Now the features of deductive argument are obviously uh, the first feature is that the premises support conclusion conclusively. If premises are true, conclusion must be 100% true. The second feature of deductive argument would be it normally it starts from journal premises and its conclusion is particular. For example, as I said, all birds have wings. Crow is a bird, therefore crow has wings. Now, if you see, we started from a general principle that all birds have wings, and the conclusion is particular. It talks about only crows, a kind of birds. So the second feature of deductive argument is that it always starts from the general propositions and moves to particular. In other words, it is also called the certain path. Certain path means like, as I said, that the premises support conclusion conclusively. If we are certain about the premises, the conclusion would be 100% true. There would be no doubt remain in the conclusion. The claim it makes, the deductive argument makes is, if the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. Now the second feature, it always starts from journal to and ends on particular. The standard or basically the deductive arguments are not true or false. They are basically valid and invalid. Why? Because deduction goes from general laws to particular principles, and if the uh, if the form of the argument, if the conclusion follows from the premises, if that is correct, the form of the argument would be valid or invalid. It is not true or false. For example, if I say that all men have wings, Ali is a man, therefore Ali has wings. Now, although this argument is not true because men do not have wings, obviously. But because we started from general supposition that all men have wings, and the conclusion follows from these two propositions that all men have wings and Mr. Man and Ali is a man. So if we consider these two propositions to be true, uh, the conclusion would be true. and the argument would be valid, although in a real life experience we would not consider it to be true. But deductive arguments basically they aim for the validity and invalidity. Like all birds have feathers, it's a true proposition. A penguin is a bird, it's a true proposition, true premise. Therefore, penguin has feathers. It's certain conclusion. But in real life, if you see penguins do not have feathers, although penguins are considered to be birds, but they do not have feathers. So this is perfectly valid argument, but not necessarily true. So the aim of deduction is to look into the validity of an argument. So these are valid or invalid. Deduction goes from general laws to particular facts. The aim of deduction is we need to see whether thought agrees with thought. Like it is the first feature, it basically a proposition, the premise supports conclusion conclusively. The second feature is it always starts from a general principle and ends on particular. The third feature of deductive argument is it is always valid or invalid. It's not true or false. And the aim of deduction is the demand whether thought agrees with thought or not. We don't need to look into the real life situation. We just need to look into the kind of the form of an argument. Now we move to the inductive argument. Please try to mute your mics. I don't want to hear different kinds of birds in your background. So inductive argument, we move to inductive argument now. This is the second, the different kind of an argument from deductive argument. The inductive argument is an argument in which premises support conclusion with probability. How and why? Because it always starts from particular facts and ends on a general principle. Like if I say Mr. X is a student and he is intelligent, then I say Mr. Y is a student and he is intelligent. Then I say Mr. Z is a student and he is intelligent. So these are the three propositions, three premises, and then I I basically induce a conclusion from these three premises, which says, therefore, all students are intelligent. Now, if we look, there are, if we add premises more, like if we add more examples of students like Mr. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, so on, it will make conclusion more probable, but the conclusion can never be 100% true because we cannot, it's not possible for us to observe all of the students in this universe and then say that they are intelligent. So this kind of argument, in this kind of argument, premises support conclusion with probability, not with conclusiveness. The other features of inductive argument are unlike deductive argument. Inductive arguments start with particular facts and then draw a general conclusion. If I saw a student of Peshawar University uh, and he was intelligent, and then I saw another student of Peshawar University and he was intelligent, and then I saw another student of Peshawar University and he was intelligent, and then I conclude that therefore all students of Peshawar University are intelligent. Now this conclusion is probable, but it's not conclusive. No matter how much premises I add into this, it might make the conclusion more probable, but never 100%. So, the second feature of inductive argument is that it starts from particular ends on general. It's a probable path. Inductive argument is called to be a probable path. If the premises are true, the conclusion is probably true. The keywords used in these kind of arguments are likely, probably, chances are, odds, suggest. And the standard of these kind of arguments are not valid and invalid, but strong or weak. The more cases you add individually in the premises, the conclusion becomes more stronger. The conclusion becomes more probable if more strong if the premises are added. If the cases, for example, 90% on this campus own laptop. It's a true premise. Maria is a student on this campus. Therefore, Maria probably owns a laptop because here you can see we are talking about 90%, but we are not sure that if Maria falls into this 90% or 10%. So it's a probable path. Another thing is like uh, in deductive argument, we see that uh, if the argument is valid or invalid, whereas in inductive argument we just need to look whether this argument is strong or weak. If it has more cases, it would be obviously more stronger. If it has few cases in premises, then it would be a weaker argument. Another feature in like the deductive argument normally looks into the fact that whether thought agrees with the thought or not. While in inductive argument, we basically see whether thought agrees with the real world or not. If it agrees with the real world, it is true. If it does not, then it is false. While in on inductive argument, it's not true or false, it is valid or invalid. Inductive argument are strong or weak, and we can check the reality in real life situation. We can check whether Maria owns a laptop or not. It's there is a probability. So if we compare deductive argument with the inductive argument, the feature is the deductive argument, the feature of certainty in deductive argument is absolute. Obviously, if valid, if the premises support conclusion, then the certainty is absolute. While in inductive argument, no matter how many premises support the conclusion, it will remain probable. It can be more probable or less probable, but it can never be absolute. The conclusion of deductive argument necessarily follows from the premises, while the conclusion of inductive argument likely follows, because if the premises support conclusion with probability, it is more likely to be uh, a strong argument. If the premises are less, then it is weaker, but it's always likely, it's not necessarily. It's the same feature of absoluteness and necessarily. Here it's probable and likely. The risk in deductive argument, there is no risk of new information. If once you say that all men are mortal, then if Mr. X is a man, Mr. Y is a man, Mr. Z is a man, it does not matter. Once you have claimed that all men are mortal, then addition of any new men in that category would not risk of or change the argument. While in inductive argument, new information weakens our strengths. If we if we uh, add more propositions, more premises, more cases into an inductive argument, it will obviously it will strengthen the argument. But if there are few cases, uh, if there is no new information, then it's okay. If there is a new information that can weaken or strengthen an argument, for example, if I say Ali is a man and he is mortal, X is a man and he is mortal, Y is a man and he is mortal, Z is a man and he is mortal. The more I add mortal cases, the more our argument will be strengthened. Therefore, all men are mortal. But if in the premises, if I add Mr. N is a man and he is immortal, then it would obviously weaken our argument that there is at least one case which is not mortal, and that would basically weaken our conclusion. The typical use of deductive and inductive arguments in different fields are, in the deductive argument is normally used in mathematics, logic, computer, and law. Obviously, you might have studied mathematics at some point in your life, and you normally uh, see that there are some presuppositions in mathematics in order to draw certain conclusions. So mathematics use deductive argument, logic also uses deduction, computer also use deductive argument, and in law we see there is a general law, and then on those particular instances are supported by that general law, and that is a kind of deductive argument. On the other hand, inductive argument is used by science. Science conducts, or natural sciences or conduct basically individually uh, different experiments and then compose a general principle. So it is science basically uses inductive method. Induction means like collecting different facts. You guys need to be a bit careful because it's a class and you have to mute your mics until and unless you have something better to say instead of just making noises. So the use of deductive arguments are normally in mathematics, logic, computer science, and laws, while the other natural sciences normally use induction. Inductive means like to collect different facts and make a general principle, while deduction means to deduce, to draw, to take out something. So in deduction, we have a general principle and then we draw a particular conclusion from that. The failure of deduction and induction is that when in deduction, when premises are false or form is invalid. when premises are not true. For example, if I say that all men can fly, Mr. X is a man, therefore Mr. X can fly. So the first premise is false, although it might look a valid argument, but it's not true. On the other hand, the invalidity, if I say all men can fly, Mr. X is a man, therefore Mr. X is tall. So the form does not make it valid because the premises are saying something else, the conclusion is drawn that is something else. So it's invalid in if the form is not valid or if the premises are not true. On the other hand, induction fails when the sample is biased or the sample is too small. For example, we are conducting kind of research on the suppose we are conducting the research on the reasons of poverty in cohort. So if, for example, if the sample is taken from those people who are not poor and who don't have this experience, and we take we to collect data from such people, that would be a biased sample. Or if we take a sample of a few people, a very small sample in cohort, and then draw conclusion about the poverty in the whole the city of cohort, that would again fail. So we need to understand the sample size whenever we are using induction. So there are different kinds of formulas to conclude your sample size, but uh, that is not the point to make here. We just need to see the the difference between deduction and induction and deductive argument and inductive argument. So basically, both are the arguments, both are the kind of reasonings, but their strategy is different. And to conclude, if you look, these the reasoning is a kind of cyclical process. I mean, when you in induction, when you collect facts, individual facts, and make a general principle, that general principle then is used in deduction, and then a particular conclusion is drawn. And that particular conclusion, when collected individually, it becomes deduction, and then you draw a general conclusion. So, for example, if I saw, so far I have seen all the men, they are mortal. So I saw my father who died, my mother, my my brother, my uncle, my aunt. I have seen so many people dying. So inductively, I can say that therefore all men are mortal. And once we have reached to this conclusion is can be used as a premise of deductive argument that all men, since all men are mortal, Mr. X is a man, therefore Mr. X would be mortal. So it's not that inductive argument are more important or deductive argument are more important. Both basically support each other, but these are the different strategies to to for the research or to know the for the reasoning, to conduct the reasoning. And finally, again, these two books are very handy for these topics in Introduction to Logic. One is written by Introduction to Logic by Ewing, Copy, and Cohen. The other one is Concise Introduction by Hurley. And also, I have provided you with the PDF files, which it has been explained very simply. Now, at the end, if you have any questions, now you can ask me before we wind up today's lecture. Thank you. Any questions?
नो सर।
माशाल्लाह, मतलब आप लोग सारे जो है ना वो अलामा हैं, किसी को जहन में कोई सवाल नहीं है। ओके देन, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
सबमिट के लिए
सर समझ ही नहीं आई, सर समझ ही नहीं आई
ये किसको समझ नहीं आई?
मुझे।
आपका नाम क्या है?
वारद खान।
जी, आप वारिद खान, तो मैं आपसे उर्दू में ही बात कर रहा हूँ कि आपको जो समझ नहीं आई या कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप मुझसे पूछ लें, लेकिन आप कह रहे हैं कि समझ नहीं आई।
सर इंग्लिश 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 समझ नहीं आई।
तो
इंग्लिश
इंग्लिश समझ नहीं आई तो बेटा ये इंग्लिश की तो क्लास नहीं है
पूरे
ना, ये
लेक्चर।
तो लॉजिक की क्लास है, और लॉजिक का कोर्स जो है वो चूंकि इंग्लिश में है, तो यू हैव टू लर्न इंग्लिश। उस पुख्तो के खुदर तनशम वेले का ना आज पुख्तो के बोस डिडक्टिव आर्गुमेंट तसवी या उर्दू के डिडक्टिव आर्गुमेंट तसवी दा मातम पता निश्ता।
जी पढ़ते सर څومره ښه ښکاري सर जी پښتو ہے ټولو کې ښه
कितनी अच्छी लगती है सर आपका प्रश्न।
अब पश्तो सर खो खख कारू खो दादा ची पख्तो सर दा डिग्री खनक कारी।
सर उर्दू में समझाऊंगा।
सर ये हटा दीजिए, कौन है ये? फेक है सर ये इनको बैन कर रिपोर्ट मांगे सर।
ये है कौन पता नहीं।
सर ये
इनके
फेक
नाम में
नाम इधर कोई फेक नाम आ रहा है सर, और उसको रिपोर्ट करें। फेक नाम इधर होगा, आप देखें इधर आपके पास तो होती है ना अथॉरिटी, होती है इधर देखें पार्टिसिपेंट में।
अच्छा चले, तो किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन, वारिद खान कोई पर्टिकुलर चीज अगर आपको समझ नहीं आई है तो यू कैन आस्क मी। वैसे तो अब जनरली पूरा जाहिर है वो लेक्चर तो दोहरा नहीं सकते ना, एनीथिंग।
सर जी इनसे पता करें पार्टिकुलर क्या होता है।
तो बेटा थोड़ी सी अंग्रेजी सीखनी जरूरी है, सिर्फ इस डिग्री के लिए नहीं, कल को आपने कहीं पे काम करना हो तो उसके लिए भी आपको चाहिए होगी।
सर जी हम कौन सा अंग्रेजी?
इंशाल्लाह।
मोहसिन आप बता दो ना, मोहसिन आप बता दो।
यार मुझे खुद को नहीं पता, मैं तब भी बोल रहा
सर ये मिनट तक आगे पढ़ेंगे या बस